What if China, the rising superpower, launched an invasion of the United States and won? How could such an unprecedented event unfold? And what would the world look like if China succeeded in conquering the US? In today's video, we explore an unimaginable scenario. China launching a full-scale invasion of the United States and emerging victorious. What would this mean for the future of the world's most powerful nations and the global balance of power? China and the United States are two of the most powerful nations on Earth, locked in a complex relationship defined by trade, technology, and military dominance. But what would drive China to take the extraordinary step of invading the US? In this hypothetical scenario, China faces rising pressure from global rivals, economic slowdowns, and internal unrest. To secure its position as the world's dominant power, China decides to launch a bold, unexpected invasion of the United States, aiming to destabilize its main geopolitical rival. The stakes are enormous. By defeating the United States, China could solidify its influence over the Pacific, control global trade routes, and secure valuable resources. In an increasingly unstable world, this could be seen as China's final push to cement its superpower status. But how could China realistically invade a nation as powerful as the United States, with its vast military capabilities and global alliances? And what would be the motivation behind such a drastic action? A Chinese invasion of the United States would begin with a large-scale assault across the Pacific. China's strategy would focus on overwhelming US military assets in the Pacific, starting with strategic islands like Guam and Hawaii. China's naval and air power would aim to neutralize US forces in the Pacific, clearing the way for an assault on the mainland. California, the economic powerhouse of the United States, would likely be the first target, with cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco falling under siege. China would use cyber attacks to disrupt US communications, infrastructure, and defense systems, aiming to cripple America's ability to respond. With overwhelming numbers and precision strikes, China would establish a beachhead on the west coast, while US forces scrambled to defend their homeland. The invasion would be swift and devastating. China would seize control of key ports, highways, and military bases along the west coast, effectively cutting off the United States from vital trade routes and resources. Could China realistically succeed in establishing control over US territory? Or would the American military rally to push back the invaders? Let us know what you think in the comments. If China successfully captured major cities along the west coast, the immediate consequences would be catastrophic for the United States. Millions of Americans would flee inland, causing mass chaos and economic collapse as industries grind to a halt. California's economy alone is the fifth largest in the world, and its occupation would send shockwaves through global markets. The tech industry, agriculture, and shipping sectors would be disrupted, causing massive shortages and economic panic around the globe. Meanwhile, China would control vital US resources, including energy, agriculture, and technology hubs, giving it immense leverage over the global economy. With the US military reeling and its citizens in disarray, China's control of these resources would shift the global balance of power almost overnight. But could China hold on to its newly conquered territory, or would the US rally a counter-offensive to retake its land? While China might win the initial invasion, occupying and controlling US territory would be an entirely different challenge. The United States is a vast and heavily armed nation, with a fiercely patriotic population that would resist any foreign occupation. Local militias, guerrilla fighters, and US military remnants would make it nearly impossible for China to maintain control. Armed resistance groups would launch coordinated attacks on Chinese forces, targeting supply lines and key installations. For China, the occupation of the United States would drain resources and strain its military. The sheer size of the US and the scale of resistance would make maintaining control incredibly costly and dangerous, both for Chinese troops and for the global order. The presence of powerful militias, backed by local populations, would make guerrilla warfare the dominant strategy in cities and rural areas alike. No matter how powerful China's military might be, holding US territory would likely become a quagmire. Could China maintain its grip on the US West Coast in the face of fierce resistance? Or would the cost of occupation prove too high? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The global repercussions of a Chinese invasion of the United States would be felt immediately. The collapse of US industries and the disruption of global supply chains would lead to a deep global recession, with rising food and energy prices plunging many nations into economic crisis. Nations across the world, especially in Europe and Asia, would face difficult decisions. Some might form new alliances with China, while others, like Japan, South Korea, and Australia, would rally to support the United States, fearing China's growing dominance. Meanwhile, global powers like Russia could use the conflict to their advantage, expanding their influence while the world's superpowers are distracted by the unfolding chaos. The geopolitical landscape would shift dramatically, with new rivalries and alliances emerging. The United States, though initially defeated, would likely regroup and rally its allies for a counteroffensive. The question would be, could the US reclaim its lost territory and restore its global position? Or would China's victory mark the end of US dominance? What do you think the world would look like if China successfully invaded the United States? Could the US rally back? Or would this mark a turning point in global history? Let us know your thoughts. This hypothetical scenario paints a picture of how quickly the world order could change. A Chinese victory over the US would send shockwaves through every corner of the globe, reshaping international alliances and the global economy. But now, it's your turn to imagine. Could China really invade and defeat the United States? How would the world react to such a historic shift in power? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love exploring alternate realities and mind-bending scenarios, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.